Welcome back. Now let's unpack some of these key UI and DOM concepts that
Oh,
people often trip up on in interviews.
yeah.
It's funny how some of these simple ideas
Right.
can become pretty tricky when you're under pressure.
Absolutely. I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, so what are some of the core concepts that tend to give people trouble?
I'd love to know.
Well, one common stumbling block is understanding DOM manipulation
Okay.
and how to do it efficiently with JavaScript.
Right. It's more than just adding or removing elements.
It is.
It's got to be done in a way that keeps things running smoothly.
Yeah, you don't want any performance bottlenecks.
Right. You don't want to be constantly re-rendering the whole page every time you make a small change.
Exactly. That would be terrible for the user.
It would be super slow and clunky.
Exactly. So you really need to know methods like query selector,
Okay.
create element,
Mm.
append child,
Mm-hmm.
all those tools that let you target specific elements,
Right.
create new ones, and modify the DOM tree in a very precise way.
Without redrawing the whole page.
Right.
So you're like a surgeon,
Ooh, I like that.
carefully making incisions
Okay.
and adjustments without messing up the whole body.
Or in this case, the web page.
Exactly.
That's a great analogy. You want to be precise and efficient with those DOM manipulations.
Okay, so DOM manipulation is one hurdle.
Yeah.
What else trips people up?
Event handling is another big one.
Okay.
You need to be comfortable with how events work in JavaScript,
Right.
how to attach event listeners to elements, and how to respond when the user interacts, like clicks, hovers, input, changes, all of that.
You know, this was one of the hardest things for me when I was learning JavaScript.
Yeah, it can be tricky.
Like, you have to think about how these events flow
Right.
up and down through the DOM tree.
It's like magic sometimes.
It really is.
But once you understand those basic principles, it starts to make more sense.
Mhm.
Remember, interviewers aren't just looking for someone who can write the code.
Right.
They want to see that you can explain these concepts and that you truly understand what's going on.
So knowing the syntax isn't enough.
No, it's not enough. They want you to understand the why behind the code,
Okay.
not just the how.
The why not, just the how. That's a good way to put it.
It's like the difference between reading a recipe
Right.
and understanding the science of cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Both are important,
Yeah.
but one gives you a much deeper level of understanding.
Now, you mentioned asynchronous JavaScript earlier.
Yes.
Why is that so important in UI development?
Well, in modern web applications, things don't always happen in a neat sequential order.
Right.
You're often dealing with things that take time.
Like fetching data from a server.
Exactly, or waiting for user input.
And you don't want the whole application to freeze up.
Oh, no, definitely not. You want to keep things smooth for the user.
Right. It's so frustrating when a page locks up every time you click something.
It is, and that's where asynchronous JavaScript comes in.
Okay.
It lets you handle those situations gracefully.
Okay.
So your app can keep running other tasks while it's waiting.
Right. Like callbacks and promises.
Yes, exactly. You can use callbacks, promises, and async await, all to make sure the user experience is seamless and responsive.
I'll be honest, asynchronous JavaScript still feels a little intimidating to me sometimes.
I understand it can be challenging at first.
Yeah, it's like trying to juggle multiple things at once.
Think of it like this. You're at a restaurant,
Okay.
you order your food, and then you don't just stare at the kitchen door until it arrives. You keep talking to your friends, maybe order a drink.
Yeah, you go about your business.
Exactly. And that's what asynchronous JavaScript lets your web app do.
It doesn't just sit there waiting.
Nope, it keeps working on other stuff.
So asynchronous JavaScript keeps things responsive
Yes,
and prevents those annoying delays for the user?
exactly. And mastering these techniques can really set you apart as a front-end developer.
Okay.
It shows that you understand how to build complex applications and create those smooth experiences that users love.
Okay, so we've covered DOM manipulation, event handling, and asynchronous JavaScript.
Yes,
All super important for these challenges.
they are.
But let's talk more about problem solving in these interviews.
Okay.
You said it's not just about writing code, but also showing your thought process.
Right.
Can you expand on that a bit more?
Sure. One of the biggest mistakes I see is when people just focus on getting the code to work
Okay.
without explaining their reasoning to the interviewer.
They forget to talk.
Yeah, they forget to communicate their thought process.
But the interviewer wants to see how you think.
Exactly. They're evaluating your problem-solving skills,
Mm-hmm.
how you break things down, and how you arrive at a solution.
So should you be explaining every single line of code as you write it?
Not necessarily every line,
Okay.
but you should definitely be vocalizing your thought process.
Okay.
Explain what you're doing and why and what you expect to happen.
So it's like giving them a guided tour of your brain.
Yes, exactly, as you're working through the problem.
Okay, a guided tour.
Right.
So it's not just showing them the destination.
Yeah.
It's taking them on the journey
Yeah.
and explaining the scenery along the way.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions.
Yeah.
It's better to be 100% sure about the requirements than to make assumptions.
Right. You don't want to go down the wrong path.
No, you don't. And asking questions shows that you're engaged and thinking critically.
It shows that you're not afraid to ask for help. Okay, so what about those curveball questions that interviewers love to throw?
Oh, yeah, the ones that seem to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, the ones that really test you.
Those can be tough, but they're also a great chance to show off your adaptability
Okay.
and your problem-solving skills. Remember, the interviewer doesn't expect you to have the perfect answer immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see how you react when you're put on the spot.
Right.
Do you freeze up or do you stay calm and collected?
So what do you do if you get a question that totally stumps you?
First, don't panic.
Okay, good advice.
Take a breath and just admit that you might not know the answer right away,
Okay.
but then show them that you're willing to work it out.
Okay.
Ask some clarifying questions, brainstorm some approaches,
Mm-hmm.
and don't be afraid to think outside the box.
So you use that question to show off your problem-solving skills,
You got it. They want to see that you can adapt, learn, and solve problems.
even when you're surprised.
Exactly. And remember, the interview is a two-way street.
Oh, that's right.
It's a chance for you to learn about the company and the role, too,
Yeah.
and to ask questions to see if it's a good fit for you.
We get so focused on impressing them, we forget we're evaluating them, too.
Exactly. You should be thinking, do I want to work here?
Right. Is this the right team for me?
That's it. So ask questions, be curious, and show your enthusiasm for this field.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
It is, and your passion will definitely shine through.
This has been so helpful.
Yeah.
I'm feeling much more prepared,
Good. I'm glad.
but I know there's still more to learn.
There's always more.
What else can we cover in this deep dive?
Well, let's switch gears now and talk about how to actually approach these UI and DOM challenges in an interview setting.
Okay.
We'll discuss how to break down problems effectively,
Sounds good.
how to communicate your thought process, and how to handle those curveball questions.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've talked about all those core UI and DOM concepts
We have.
and how important communication is in these technical interviews.
Mhm.
But let's get down to brass tacks. It's interview time.
Oh, yeah.
They hit you with a coding challenge.
Here we go.
What are the strategies? How do you actually tackle these UI and DOM problems effectively?
Well, you got to have a structured approach.
What?
Don't just jump into writing code.
Right. Take a step back.
Exactly. Take a moment, really understand the problem,
Mm-hmm.
break it down into smaller steps,
Okay.
and sketch out a plan.
So like planning a road trip.
Yes. You don't just start driving. You got to map out your route.
Right. You got to know where you're going.
Exactly. And having that roadmap will keep you on track.
Okay.
And it also shows the interviewer that you're methodical and thoughtful.
They want to see that you can think things through.
Absolutely. They want to see strategy, not just reaction.
And I imagine you should be talking through all of this with the interviewer,
Oh, yeah.
letting them in on your thought process as you go.
Definitely keep them in the loop. Explain what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you expect to happen.
So it's like taking them on that road trip with you.
It's-
You're explaining the scenery as you go.
Exactly. And don't be shy about asking questions along the way.
Yeah.
Better to be 100% sure about what they want than to make assumptions that could send you down a rabbit hole.
Absolutely. No one wants to build the wrong thing. Now, what about those curveball questions?
Ah, yes. The curveballs.
The ones that come out of nowhere.
They can be tricky, but they're also a great chance to show off your skills,
Okay.
your adaptability, and your problem solving. Remember, the interviewer doesn't need you to know the answer right away.
Right.
They're watching how you react to the unexpected.
Yeah.
Do you stay calm or do you freak out?
Okay, so what's the best way to handle it if you get a question that you're totally stumped on?
First, breathe.
Okay.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
It's okay to admit you don't know something off the top of your head.
Right.
But then show them you're willing to figure it out.
Okay.
Ask some clarifying questions,
Mm-hmm.
brainstorm some ideas, and think outside the box.
So you use that curveball to show off your problem solving even more.
It's about being resourceful and thinking critically under pressure.
So you're not just showing them that you know the answer.
Right.
You're showing them how you think.
Exactly.
Okay, and remember, the interview is a two-way street.
It is.
You're interviewing them too.
That's right.
Make sure it's the right fit for you.
Ask questions, be curious, and show your passion.
It's an exciting field.
It really is.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I've learned a ton.
Good.
about UI and DOM coding challenges, and I hope our listeners are feeling more prepared too.
Me too.
Any last words of wisdom as they start their front-end development journey?
Remember, these challenges are about more than just code. They're about showing that you understand front-end principles, that you can solve problems, communicate clearly, and build those amazing user experiences that make the web so great.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And remember, practice makes perfect.
Or at least progress.
Right. The more you practice, the better you'll get.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things and learn from your mistakes.
Everyone makes mistakes. That's how we learn.
As a final thought,
Yeah.
never stop learning in this field. Explore new resources. Play with different libraries and frameworks and keep pushing yourself.
Yes. The world of front-end development never stands still.
That's the truth. So embrace the challenge and keep learning.
Exactly.
We're so excited for you and your journey into this amazing world. And hey, if you have more questions or want us to take a deep dive into another challenge, just let us know. Best of luck with those interviews.
You got this.